Liz Truss, aside from her time in office, her ideas still do have some salience.
She is a great political thinker and figure.
I think Sunak needs to go. I think he's a flop. There's going to be no change. We're destined for disaster.
Did Liz Truss not try that last time?
She did, but the Bank of England worked against her.
Behind me, in that church there, disgraced former Prime Minister Liz Truss is launching popular conservatism. While that might sound like a contradiction in terms, popular conservatism, or PopCon as people insist on calling it, is a project launched by Truss and her allies in order to bring back the ideas that Liz Truss was just in the middle of perfecting, when the economy fell off a cliff. Some nominally serious politicians are here, so desperate to try and save their seat, they'll attach their good name to the pet project of a woman whose net favourability is -54, rather than try and help their constituents get a dentist appointment or something. There are a lot of right-wingers here. Tory MPs, Tory members, other ghouls. Aren't you embarrassed to be here? They're all here to find out what Liz Truss would do to fix the country. We're here to ask them why.
I'm attending the launch of the what I call PopCon.
Popular conservatism is an oxymoron at the moment, isn't it?
Somewhat, but I think the principles of the Conservative movement and the ideas and the priorities of Conservatives in the country remain pretty popular. I think it's the party which is somewhat tainted at the moment.
As I said, I'm not, like a major supporter or anything. I just come along to see how things are going to be panned out. Potentially, hopefully, meet some famous people. And it's going to be interesting to hear what they're going to have to say.
Conservatives win the next election.
They can, with the right leader and the right policies, because what's happened at the moment is our voters are on strike. They don't recognise, there's a poll that came out just recently, 90% of them, these are registered members, 3,000 registered members, don't think the government is conservative enough.
Is that the Conservative members don't think that?
Yeah,
they're not remotely representative of the wider public.
No. Well, the point is, we have lost our own membership at the moment, or Sunak has, and what we need to do is get them back.
So who do you think you should be appealing to?
Well, I think we've got a lot of people who are annoyed at what's happened over 11 years. They're frustrated what has and hasn't been done. I think they're looking for a change. I'm not sure I think people who are going to Labour are going to them because they're more annoyed at us and they think that Labour is the safe option. I think they're not quite persuaded of that, and I think as we come into the election, more and more people will decide that Labour is too much of a risk and will come back.
We're facing elections in London, so for that is we really need to tackle law and order. For the government, I think that we've got to get growth in the economy, and we achieve that by lowering taxes.
The IMF has explicitly said not to lower taxes.
I don't always trust the IMF's view.
No, I'm sorry, there's a lot of politics being played there, and they don't like low tax economies. They don't like to be shown up for their socialist model being undermined.
But it is a proven fact that if you reduce taxes, that the economy grows, and I think that's what we have to do.
Did Liz Truss not try that last time?
She did, but the Bank of England worked against her.
What made you join the Conservative Party?
Well, I'm conservative on a lot of issues. I'm very much free market. I like low taxes. My kind of ethos is work hard and get you somewhere in life, as long as you provide people with the opportunities to work hard as well.
You wouldn't have paid taxes yet, will you?
I have not personally paid taxes, no. I have a job, but I haven't earned enough to pay taxes yet. Yeah, it's because my family don't necessarily come from anywhere, of privilege by any means necessarily. My grandparents are immigrants, and they work hard all their lives, and they've had enough to settle down. And I think it's important that a lot of people have the opportunity to do that, and I think that they provided with that chance in life. And I think if you do work hard, it is important that you reap the rewards that you deserve.
Number one, get our own voters back. Number two, take on Starmer. But we can do that. I think Sunak needs to go. I think he's a flop. there's going to be no change. We're destined for disaster if we stay with Sunak.
But then is that not even more embarrassing for the Conservatives if they changed another leader before the election?
I don't think so, because actually it's the Conservatives we need to appeal to. They're the missing voters, the striking voters. So if we appeal to them and reassure them, they'll come back to us.
A party which wants to go into government after having, 14 years of preparing now on a very light policy platform, I don't think it's going to wash when it comes to the election. I think we've got a very positive story to tell. Of course, it's not a perfect story to tell, but we've got a very positive story to tell. And I think when we go into the election, people will decide that Labour is too much of a risk and that we offer a positive plan which will work.
Surely you're not going to get the best ideas or the best inspiration from the most unpopular Conservative politician in the country, Liz Truss.
Well, you could say that, but I think that I think that Liz Truss, aside from her time in office, her ideas still do have some salience. I think the problem with the Truss government,
they were shown to be undone by the polling and the markets.
In manner in which it was conducted and executed, which of course was appalling. But I nonetheless believe.
So what would be different?
I nonetheless believe that she is offering ideas which should be listened to, and of course I'll judge them on the merits of them. I'm not necessarily saying that I necessarily agree, but I'm here to hear what she's got to say, and I look forward to hearing it. And I really must go.
Okay. Have a lovely day, man.
And you. Take care.
I suppose that's fair enough. We shouldn't reject the ideas out of hand without hearing them.
Wokeism seems to be on the curriculum. We've got more than 500 quangos in Britain. People want to see lower legal immigration. Conservatives have not taken on the left-wing extremists. They don't admit they're socialists or communists anymore. They say they're environmentalists. They say that they're in favour of helping people across all communities. They are in favour of supporting LGBT people or groups of ethnic minorities. Conservative cabinet ministers have met Greta Thunberg and asked her what she wanted. I never get invited to any London dinner parties, so it's not an issue. It's not an issue for me. I feel some invitations coming on after that. None of us are saying, by the way, that MPs are brilliant or infallible, but we certainly are ejectable. And I myself have been at the sharp end of that. Keir Starmer would enhance the power of these so-called independent bodies. He'd enhance the power of these quangos. He'd outsource more decision-making to his friends in Islington, which is where a lot of them live. If you ask the under-30s what they think of democracy, there's not a very polite response.
Liz Truss mentioned in her speech the actions of she called them communists and socialists, and she railed against wokeism. Do you think that's the priority of the country?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what she means by that is that we're not being able to grow the economy, and
that's not what she meant by wokeism, surely.
Yeah, a lot of organisations, including councils, are having their time taken up on woke things, and we're not actually concentrating on making energy prices cheaper, food prices cheaper.
Is that not due to the actions of the government?
In some cases, yes, but in some cases not. But, you know, that is a lot of it. The energy price is due to net zero, which is we've managed to achieve more by actually improving the way that we provide energy than we have actually by legislation.
Should we take Liz Truss seriously?
Absolutely. She is a great political thinker and figure. Anyway.
Conservatives really do need some serious reflection if they are going to have any chance in the next election. There is a total vacuum of policy innovation in the government. So is it any wonder Tory MPs and right-wing talking heads flock to events like this? Admittedly, they should realise they're not going to win the election talking about the deep state and Islington, but it's something.
You know, you look at what Rishi Sunak's doing. His last conference speech was meant to be the big reset, the big look at me, this is our message to the electorate. And what did we get? We got maths reform, we got banning on smoking, and we got the abolition of HS2. Now that does not make a winning manifesto, and Tory MPs know that. So whilst they're notionally trying to be helpful here, what they're really doing is doing a big, highlight under the fact that the Tory government is not really offering much for voters as far as they see it.
Do you think the answer then is with Liz Truss? Surely there's a better option than a failed former Prime Minister who's like, her raison d'etre was manifestly rejected by markets and polling.
That will always be the problem for Liz, and I imagine it's very frustrating, right? She does feel like she has a lot to offer, but also the same people are turning up at these things, and a lot of them are going to lose their seats at the next election. And I get the sense it's sort of like a man on his deathbed, sort of looking back at his life and thinking, oh, we should have done this, should have done that, I've got all these regrets. Actually, these sort of groups, they're great at offering problems, the lists of problems, but they very rarely actually turn around and go, hang on, we've had 14 years to sort, the growth of bureaucrats and quangos and left-wing civil servants, and who signed us up to all these international agreements like COP, who voted for them, and none of that happens. And the problem is, the more and more Tory MPs list all the things that are going wrong, the public go, we absolutely agree with you, so we're not going to vote for you, right?
The Conservatives are in freefall, 14 years down the pan. And if they are to pose any fight in the next election, they do need to come up with some good ideas. They should look anywhere else, though.